Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to North East Water's series of webinars on master planning and growth. Today is our fifth webinar in a series of 8 webinars, and we're particularly focusing on the Alpine Shire today. Staff that you'll be hearing from today are myself, Guy Wilson-Brown, as the General Manager of Planning Infrastructure. We'll also have presenting Jill Fagan, our Manager of Planning and Livability, Dean Jones, our Capital Program Manager, Tim Golan, our Manager of Assets and Development, and we're being supported by Eddie Wilson from our Community and Engagement team. So welcome, and we particularly acknowledge the traditional owners of the waters and lands on which we operate, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. Today's session is being recorded, as of the other webinars that we've done, and they're available through Have Your Say link on our website. So you'll be able to digest today's information by seeing the recording and pass it on to your colleagues. Because it's being recorded, we've got cameras and microphones off, but you can post questions in our Q&A. If you open up your Q&A link, you'll be able to see those questions as we go, and when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll address all those questions that we've received. Today is an important part of our engagement for the Price Submission 5, which is a 5-year period where we submit our business case and budgets to the Essential Services Commission for a period from mid-2026 to 2031. A little bit about North East Water, the region. You can see from the map there some 39 towns that we service, and of those 39 towns, the 15 larger towns that have larger size wastewater and water treatment plants have master plans that have been done for them, and that's what we'll be talking to you about today. Today we're particularly focusing on the Alpine Shire area, which includes the towns of Myrtleford, Papunka, Bright, Toowoomba South, Mount Beauty, and Harriettville. We have $1.6 billion worth of assets throughout the region, including 21 water treatment plants and 22 wastewater treatment plants. So renewal of ageing infrastructure is a significant challenge for us. And also currently we have one of the lowest water bills in Victoria, $1,040 average water bill. And we also have high customer satisfaction of 94% based on a recent independent survey of 2,000 customers. So we're proud of the fact that we've got low water bills and high customer satisfaction. And we're a local employer. We employ over 200 employees that live in the local region. A little bit about our priority areas. First and foremost, water security, ensuring that we provide quality water and reliable water to all of our customers. Wastewater compliance, particularly complying with our general environmental duty, EPA and health regulations. Climate change is a particular challenge for us at the moment. We have a target of 100% renewable electricity by 2025. Electricity is used for all our major plants, and we're on track to achieve that. And we also have a net zero carbon emission reduction of 0 by 2035, and we're also on track to achieve that as well. As you'll hear today with the master planning, catering for growth and responding to development is a key focus for us. And particularly with the price submission, customer affordability is really important, and supporting our vulnerable customers. So that's a really important part of our price submission engagement as we move forward. Regional partnerships, at the end of the day, we have to present an evidence-based approach for all our investment to the ESC, and that's an important part of what we're doing today, engaging towards that next price path, which will start middle of 2026. Everything we do is governed by our APEX strategy, which is called Strategy 2040. This has recently been endorsed by our board following a 12-month period of engagement with key stakeholders, customers, and partners. So hopefully a number of you are actually familiar with this. It's built around 3 pillars, which are called our ambitions: healthy environment, thriving communities, and prosperous region. And particularly with health and environment, we've had significant feedback from our traditional owners, advisors and partners that without a healthy environment, you don't have a thriving community and you can't have a prosperous region. So ensuring net nature positive, ensuring a healthy environment is a particularly important focus for our strategy 2040. But today, I guess we're talking a little bit more about master planning and particularly housing and housing targets and development, which is an important part of the prosperous region. To deliver those ambitions, we've got 3 enablers: people, partnerships and innovation. And a particular focus for today is the partnerships, particularly with local government, developers, consultants and major customers. Okay, moving on. Talking a little bit more about our infrastructure planning and prioritisation investment, which leads into our master planning. We've pretty much completed master plans for our 15 major townships, which is informing our 10-year capital program, which I will stress is in draft, and that's part of our engagement over the coming months through the price submission process is to get your feedback on our investment priorities. The master plans have particularly shown how we are going to cater for the state government housing targets. So we've adopted the higher growth scenarios, which aligns with the housing statement growth targets, and you'll hear more about that from Tim later in the piece. We've been engaging heavily with councils and developers, including a number of developer forums that we've had, including one as recently as the 21st of November last week. And this all feeds into what's called a deliberative forum, deliberate engagement process that will kick off in March next year. So about our master plans, I'm going to hand over to Jill, our Manager of Planning and Livability, to talk a little bit more about our master plans. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Guy. Hi, everyone. So our master plans are water and wastewater infrastructure plans for the next 50 years. They're developed for each of our towns experiencing growth. So Guy mentioned that we service around 39 towns. There's 15 of them that are experiencing growth and have master plans. These master plans are based on council's growth forecasts. We work very closely with each of our different local governments at the commencement of the master plan to make sure that we understand when and where they see development occurring, and we are then building our infrastructure plans to respond to that planned growth. We aim to deliver multiple benefits with our master plans, including circular economy, integrated water management, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, building resilience to climate events and other things like that, and financial resilience. It's important to note that master plans are not the same as our capital program, which sets the priorities about what we invest in when, but master plans inform our capital program, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. At the bottom of the slide there, you'll see a disclaimer. It's basically saying that these are plans for the future. They are subject to a number of different decisions, including council's planning and rezoning decisions, as well as the investment decisions that are made by a North East Water's price regulator, the Essential Services Commission. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to tell you about prioritising infrastructure investments, and this is really about how we move from master plans into a final capital program. So you can see the first step there is about master plans identifying infrastructure requirements to support compliance, that's public health compliance, as well as environmental compliance, make sure we have safe drinking water and we are making minimal impact, a negative impact on the environment, renewal of our existing infrastructure, as well as supporting growth. From all of those master plans, we get all of the capital projects, put them in a giant spreadsheet, and then we go through the second step, which is a capital projects prioritisation. It's a multi-criteria assessment to inform the order of the investment. And the purpose is here, we're trying to make sure that we invest in the most beneficial projects first. So our prioritisation, or the multi-criteria assessment, includes considerations of strategy and innovation, risk, the condition of the existing system, the infrastructure and the operations, social and community factors, environmental factors, drinking water quality, and financial factors. Each project then gets a score. We sort them by score, and the highest score projects are scheduled for construction earlier. Our third step is what we're in at the moment. That's our price submission engagement. It's where we are talking to our customers and our stakeholders to understand what your values are, what your priorities are for the region, and that informs what we invest in as well. And then the last step is the Essential Services Commission review, where they assess all of our proposed investments to see whether they think they're prudent and efficient, and they make a decision. Then our customer tariffs, which are from mid-2026 onwards. Tariffs there, we mean how much we charge for water and wastewater. So I'm handing over to Tim Golland to talk you a little bit through some growth.
Thank you, Jill. I'll just a couple of slides from me, just talking about what our growth looks like in the context of the state government's targets around new housing. I've got there on the slide that North East Water is committed to 31,200 new homes by 2051. Now that's across the 7 local government areas that North East Water services, and that's I guess a smaller number in the context of the broader 425,000 homes in regional areas across Victoria as well. As we've mentioned, we are on target to deliver more than $350 million in infrastructure investment in the current price submission, includes $90 million this year. As a result of that and other things, we already have in some of our key centres like Wodonga, Wangaratta, Yarrawonga and Bright, approximately 3 years or more of housing growth approved through approved planning permits in some of those centres. And I guess the other point on this slide is just to acknowledge that our customers do expect us to be prudent, I guess, in how we prioritise our investments over time. The next slide that I just want to touch on very quickly is a breakdown of those 7 local government areas, what the draft housing targets look like by council. So anyone who works in local government will already be very familiar with these numbers. So Alpine at the top of the list there, highlighted in blue, 1,700 is the approximate target for new homes by 2051. The third column across from the left is simply that averaged. So on average, that would equate to 63 new homes a year across Alpine Shire. And our records over the last 5 years would indicate to us that we've created on average 55 lots per year. So pretty close, but still a little bit of work to get up to that target. I think I'm going to hand over to Dean just to talk a little bit more about what some of the towns look like.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and good afternoon, everybody. Over the next few slides, I'm going to take us through a brief summary of how the systems where we've undertaken master planning are serviced. We'll look at some of the growth outlooks for those systems and also talk to the current and proposed investment to support growth across those systems. So the first system that we have up on the screen is Bright Paul-Punker. Water is sourced from the Ovens River at the Freeburg offtake. Now, extraction at this location is subject to passing flows, which means that the daily extraction volume that we can take from the river depends on the time of the year. So essentially, we can take more in winter when river flows are higher and less in summer when they are lower. We've done some water resource modelling under a high climate change scenario, and this indicates that to support growth in the medium to long term at the current growth rate will require a number of measures. Those include operational efficiencies in the water network to reduce losses, additional entitlement to take more water from the river, integrated water management initiatives, and significant capital investment. Now, some or all of these measures may be required as soon as 2040 under the high climate change scenario. The water that we extract from the river is treated at the water treatment plant in Freeburg, and then it's distributed into both Bright and Paul-Punker, along with Wandilligong that's also supported by the Freeburg Water Treatment Plant. Wastewater from both Paulpunka and Bright. We don't have wastewater services in Wandillagong, but in Bright and Paulpunka, wastewater is collected and transferred to the wastewater treatment plant, which is located in between Paulpunka and Bright. From there, we treat the effluent and it's discharged via groundwater to the Ovens River. Now, this form of discharge is no longer acceptable to the environmental regulators, so we're looking to undertake a major upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant in the near future. From a growth perspective, not a lot of growth for Bright. We do have the Bright Valley Estate that's underway, but essentially Bright will be limited to infill development from then onwards. The majority of the growth will occur in Paulpunka, as you can see on the screen. So the blue colour is the medium term, which takes us out as far as 20 years from today. And the purple colour is the longer term growth outlook, which takes us out to 50 years. The area shown in Paulpunka is quite significant. This will be subject to rezoning, and this area may not be as large depending on future planning decisions that are made by Alpine Shire Council. But the master planning has taken into account a considerable area there, and the soon to be upgraded wastewater treatment plant, along with the other investment, will cater for growth out as far as the 50 years shown on the screen. We'll go to the next slide, please, Eddie. Myrtleford. Now, with Myrtleford, we're not anticipating a lot of growth in Myrtleford. We have shown some growth there in the medium term, which is the land that's currently zoned. There are some constraints in Myrtleford with bushfire risks, so we're not anticipating much growth beyond what's shown on the screen, but that may change depending on the situation. The system at Myrtleford, we source water from the upper reach of the Buffalo Creek. This is then transferred through to our storage at the water treatment plant at Nil Gully. Now, Myrtleford has a similar set of challenges to Freeburg with respect to water security, and it is subject to passing flows, and reliability can be quite a challenge for us during the drier periods. So we will need to do a further assessment for Myrtleford to determine whether an alternate source may be required in the medium to long term to supply Myrtleford with water. The water distributed from the water treatment plant into town, and then wastewater is collected and transferred out to the Myrtleford wastewater treatment plant, where the treated effluent is then discharged to the Ovens River. Next slide, please. The last of the growth outlooks for this presentation is Mount Beauty, Toowoomba and Toowoomba South. We have the medium-term growth predominantly in Toowoomba South. There are some longer-term opportunities in Toowoomba and to the north of the existing Mount Beauty township. The areas shown in grey were previously identified as potential areas for development, but they've since been not included within the growth forecast due to bushfire risk. Water in Mount Beauty is currently sourced from 3 offtakes. We don't have water security issues in Mount Beauty. However, our primary offtake, which is from the AGL diversion tunnel from the West Kiewa River, is currently out of service due to damage from a landslide. So we are temporarily extracting water from the tail race in town to supply customers over the summer period when demand is at its highest. All 3 of those offtakes will eventually be replaced by one offtake, which will be downstream of the pondage outfall in town itself. The growth that's Toowoomba, there's a little bit of uncertainty with growth in Toowoomba. We do have some land there that's zoned, but there will need to be further rezoning through the approval of Alpine Shire into the future if we're to see significant growth occur in Toowoomba. Next slide, please, Eddie. This slide's a summary of the current investment in our current price period that's occurred across the Alpine Shire Council area. We've had an upgrade to the Harriettville water treatment plant. We've had an initial upgrade to the Bright wastewater treatment plant, and this was to upgrade the discharge to groundwater as a short-term measure until we can ultimately change that arrangement, which will be discharging directly to the Ovens River. The Mount Beauty offtake upgrade, we've been through extensive engagement with the community to discuss the options and ultimately the preferred option. And we've also undertaken stage 1 of the Myrtleford wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So you can see across the current price period, it's a touch under $6 million of investment in the Alpine Shire Council area. The next slide. Here we've got the draft 10-year capital program for the Alpine Shire Council area. As I mentioned previously, there's a major upgrade of the Bright Paul Punker wastewater treatment plant, which will be starting in the next couple of years. Designs underway for that. We have the Mount Beauty offtake upgrade. We have a new clear water storage for drinking water in Mount Beauty. We have a minor upgrade to the water treatment plant. And then we also have a new sewer pump station at the caravan park in Toowoomba South that will be built in the next 5 years. We're almost completed the Toowoomba Rising main upgrade. So that does build capacity into the network to service growth in Toowoomba into the future. And then we also have stage 2 of the Myrtleford wastewater treatment plant upgrade to ensure that site remains compliant. So you can see there's nearly $38 million over the 10-year period, which equates to near on $4 million a year, which is a significant level of investment for the Alpine Shire. Case study for the upcoming price, the next price period is the Bright wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So the project value is just over $21 million at this stage. It's a major treatment process upgrade at the plant, along with a new treated effluent pipeline, which will discharge directly to the river. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see there a diagram that shows the options that have been considered with respect to the pipeline. And ultimately, we've selected option 3 as the preferred. This offers a lower environmental risk, and it's garnered greater community support for the other options. So preliminary design is underway, and this will consider inflows to the treatment plant through to 2048. Construction's anticipated to commence in 26-27. And this investment will support significant growth and also improve the environmental performance. So it will enable us to abandon the existing discharge to groundwater, which will be a good outcome once the project's completed. I'll hand back to Jill to talk through the future webinars for master planning. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Dean. So today we're focused on Alpine Shire. If you'd like to know more about other master plans in the North East Water Service areas, you can come to these webinars, which are focused on master plans in the other LGAs. So you can see we've got Benalla, Moira and Wangaratta still to present. You can jump onto our Have Your Say page and click on the Regional Master Planning Program tile to sign up for them. We've already presented Wodonga, Indigo and Towong. You'll be able to access those recordings via the Have Your Say page as well if you'd like to see them. The other thing that's worth mentioning is under that Region Master Planning Program tile on our Have Your Say page, we also have an opportunity for you to provide feedback. We are keen to hear from you about our capital investment priorities and what you care most about. So there are 2 ways you can provide feedback today. One is to jump onto that Have Your Say page and put some information in there. The other one is to click on the Q&A if you've got a question, and we can answer it now. Back to you, Guy.
Great, thanks, Jill. As Jill said, this is our Q&A session. So we've completed our presentation, and as Jill said, if you think of other questions, you can always contact us through the Have Your Say page on our website. So anytime you want further information or you have questions, but we'll go with the Q&As that we've received so far. And first question we received was from Jamie. How do you take on board input from customers and stakeholders into this master planning? I'll refer that to you, please, Jill.
Sure, thanks, Guy. So I mentioned earlier that we've consulted extensively with local government as the growth planning authority in preparing these master plans. So the growth projections that we are using align with council's approved development plans, but also their growth strategies and priorities. We've also sought input into our future planning via our regional leaders forum that we held recently, in which we had CEOs and senior executive from across our region, including industry, business, First Nations, local government, and the North East Catchment Management Authority. We specifically asked them what they sought from North East Water and how we partner to deliver value to our customers and community. And we also conduct regular customer surveys to understand what our customers value and what they most want from us and how they think we're performing. And we also have regular conversations with developers and other business and community organisations. So I guess the insights from all of those different conversations and engagements help to inform our master planning. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jill. Jill, I might refer this next question to you as well. A really important question from Holly. What will all this new infrastructure cost me as a customer?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are committed to maintaining affordable bills for our customers, and we always have been and we continue to be. And our prices are levelised over time, which means that they gradually increase year on year. We don't give step changes in bills, significant step changes anyway. So we currently have the second lowest bills in Victoria, and we've had around 15 years of fairly flat prices. So we can't sustain that over the longer term because, as you can see, we've got significant investment that is required. So we will be seeking price rises above CPI in our next price submission. So far, we've had to have significant borrowings to fund the level of investment that we've already seen over the last 8 years. So as part of our price submission engagement, we've consulted our customers on what they're willing to pay for water and wastewater services. We've also had a bill simulator, which asked 4 questions about customer preferences and showed them what the impact would be on their bill. And the inputs from, I guess, the insights from all of that will be summarised for our ongoing price submission engagement, including a deliberative forum, which will inform, I guess, the proposed investment for the future that the Essential Services Commission will review. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Next question from Russell. How do you bring in environmental protection and biodiversity into your master plans? I might refer that to you again, please, Jill.
Yeah, so we have heard from our customers that they do want us to invest in environment protection, including supporting waterway health. North East Water isn't the catchment management. That's the North East CMA Catchment Management Authority, but we work closely with them to support their, catchment management and waterway protection. In the master plans, I mentioned we would go through a multi-criteria assessment. So we look at multiple different infrastructure options that will service current and future populations, and we give them all scores. And these options are compared using a number of different criteria that includes environmental impact and integrated water management specifically, which includes alternatives like constructed wetlands or providing purified recycled water for irrigation of, parks and gardens and sporting fields. So all of those work towards environment protection and biodiversity. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Now, next question from Ashutosh. Just checking if there's no water supply issues in Mount Beauty. Now, we heard before Dean spoke about our investment plans for the Mount Beauty Clearwater Storage and also the Mount Beauty Raw Water Offtake and Mount Beauty Water Treatment Upgrade. So, Dean, all those things relate to water supply. Can you address that question, please?
So there's currently no risk to water supply in Mount Beauty. We have a temporary offtake on the tail race to supply water to the water treatment plant during summer. So that will ensure that we have security of supply during the drier periods when consumption is high. Our water treatment process at Mount Beauty is robust and has a number of barriers to ensure that we supply water to the drinking water standard guidelines that we adhere to at all of our water treatment plants and throughout all of our water networks. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Dean. And I'll refer the next one to you from Kelly. Is the Toowoomba Rising Main upgrade for wastewater or both?
Yeah, look, thanks, Kelly, for the question. The Toowoomba Rising Main upgrade is for wastewater. So it's designed to transfer wastewater from Toowoomba back into Toowoomba South, and then it's pumped again across the West Kewa River, or beneath the West Kewa River, to the wastewater treatment plant in Mount Beauty.
Thanks, Dean. Next question from Luke. How will I know when the next developments in my town will commence? So it's about timing of delivery. So, Dean, can you please respond to that, please?
Yeah, no worries, Guy. Thanks, Luke, for the question. North East Water maintains a forward 5-year capital expenditure program, which you can access through our corporate plan or the state budget papers. These are refreshed and republished each year. The investments from 2026-27 for the following 5 years are subject to the price submission engagement, which is currently underway, through economic modelling and then review by the North East Water Board and the Essential Services Commission. So by mid-2026, we will have a decision from our price regulator and we'll have more certainty on the capital investments for the following 5 years. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Dean. Another question from Kelly. If you've been working closely with Alpine Shire, how did North East Water end up with the can't connect anymore allotments, paraphrased, and has it been ensured that it doesn't happen again? Yeah, great question. Thanks, Kelly. Look, we definitely have been working with Alpine Shire, and our growth planning is in line with Council's planning growth figures. The rate of development in the Alpine Shire had been, as you saw from the previous figures, at a fairly modest rate. And then I guess particularly with a large 80 lot plus development planned for Brighton, we had an increase in our systems. So we're particularly in Mount Beauty and Toowoomba South, our systems were pretty much at capacity. So we did put a temporary pause on those smaller developments while we worked out how to make some operational improvements, which with our engineers and operational maintenance people working together, we were able to make improvements to both our water treatment plants and our wastewater treatment, including upgrading the sewer pump station at Toowoomba South Caravan Park. So we are now approving those smaller allotments. And as hopefully you've seen from the investment that we've got planned in the next 5 years, that will ensure that we will manage growth and we won't get to this situation again. Dean, I don't know if you wanted to add anything more to that.
No, I think that's a good summary, Guy. I think that covers off. And I notice there's another question related to the growth constraints, the development constraints to come. So we'll talk a bit more about it again.
Yes, all right, good segue. Thank you for your question, Kelly. This question's from Matthew. There are current development growth constraints for each of these towns, some of which we are working through with North East Water. Could you briefly advise on the current development constraints for each of these towns? So, Dean, back to you.
Yeah, so we have a number of constraints currently that we're working through. The investment being proposed will enable those restrictions to be lifted. It will take some time to build the infrastructure to reinstate capacity in the networks, but I guess developers and people that are interested in developing can rest assured that we are making headway on the investment, and we have a significant investment plan for the next 5 years to lift those restrictions. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Dean. This looks like our last question from David. What will be included in the master plans for the Alpine Shire rural towns? Those towns not considered as growth towns. So, Dean, perhaps if you could answer that, perhaps just start by, I guess, a reminder of the towns that we do have master plans for, and how we consider planning for those other towns that don't have a formal master plan.
Yeah, so the towns within the Alpine Shire that we have undertaken master planning include Brightpool, Punka, Myrtleford and Mount Beauty, Toowoomba South. The two towns, I guess, that we service with water only, Harriettville and Wandillagong. We don't anticipate significant growth in either of those towns. There's a number of constraints that will limit growth in those towns. So that said, there isn't the need for significant new infrastructure. However, we do have a renewals program that invests in renewing assets that are underperforming or reaching end of life. And that renewals program ensures that we maintain a level of service that we've committed to maintain for our customers. Thanks, Guy.
Great, thanks, Dean. Now I'll just check with our comms expert, Eddie. I'm not seeing any more questions.
No, we've had a flurry of questions that have come through. There might need to be a refresh. So following David, we have one from Admin Outdoor Travel. It has been reported that there is PFAS chemicals in the Popunka wastewater system. Given global concerns about these dangerous chemicals, what is the consequence to the environment and downstream users if water from Popunka is pumped into the Ovens River?
All right, might refer that one to Dean.
Yeah.
Did you want to answer that one, Jill?
Yeah, look, I'll just give an overview and maybe you can add to it, Dean. We are very well aware of the PFAS chemicals and the risks posed with them. PFAS is in majority cases removed into the biosolids element of wastewater. So when we treat wastewater, we have a clear water stream that comes out and we have a biosolids, which is an organic kind of mass that looks a little bit like soil that comes out. Any PFAS usually goes into the biosolids. We are stockpiling our biosolids at the moment and looking at treating it as through a biochar process, which looks like it's destroying the PFAS. We're actually undergoing trials on that at the moment. So I'm happy to get back to you with more information, but that's the idea with the wastewater. You've asked about the implication of if we draw water from downstream to then if there's any risks. I can say that the Australian Drinking Water Guidelines have just been put out a discussion paper around monitoring PFAS and the levels that would be acceptable, and we're engaging in that, doing a lot of analysis at the moment to make sure that our water continues to be safe. Happy to follow up with a bit more information later because we don't actually have anyone from our drinking water quality team online here, so there might be a little bit more information we can provide you afterwards. But Dean, is there anything you want to add there?
I think that covers it, Jill. That's a good response. Thanks.
So I think we've got last question here from Jim. Given that the new developments are driving a lot of this investment, how realistic are the levels of developer headwork contributions currently being charged? And will they contribute a meaningful amount to the cost of the works? Are they to be related to the cost per lot or plant expansion in real terms? Yeah, great question. Thank you, Jim. Certainly the new developer charges or new customer contributions, as they're called, is part of our engagement process. And indeed at our recent development forum, we spoke about the methodology for that. So it is something that we will be reviewing, certainly with a view to getting realistic levels of developer contributions towards our developers. One thing we're looking at is a separate charge for growth areas. At the moment, we have one standard developer contribution for the whole of North East Water. So that's something that will certainly address a nexus, I guess, between the cost of development and the developer charges in that particular catchment area. So thank you for your question, Jim. Eddie, just checking any more questions.
Yeah, we have a few more. Paul from Wandillagong. I'm in Wandi when we are getting sewage, as many of us are facing up to $70,000 to renew or install new septic systems. We pay rates, but we see little council investment in Wandi. More of a statement, but maybe perhaps talking to council's plans.
Yeah, look, there is a relationship, I guess, with council's domestic wastewater plan. So if council does decide that it wants to investigate and there's a business case done for connection to main sewer, that is something we will look at. So yeah, it's really up to council to do that business case and refer it to us. But again, I might just ask Dean or Jill, is there anything more to add to that?
Yeah, just further to that, Guy, I guess part of that business case is to consider the cost, and it can be quite prohibitive for small towns, particularly given that Wandillagong is several kilometres from the Bright network. So there would be a cost in a pumping station and a transfer rising main to transfer flows back to Bright, but that would need to be considered as part of the overall cost to build a wastewater network in Wandillagong, and ultimately how would that cost be covered by the customers. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Dean. Next question, Eddie.
Yeah, we have a similar question. It's from email from Bennett Mountjoy. He's asking a very similar question regarding the wastewater feasibility in Harriettville. There's a lot of questions here which we may have to take offline further in a formal response, but perhaps we can talk to the Harriettville situation in regards to wastewater.
Yeah, I think definitely we'll need to have discussions with council. I think we've broadly covered that process, unless there's anything more we want to add, Dean or Jill.
No, nothing from me. Thanks, Guy.
All right. Well, if all those questions are similar, we'll make sure we respond to all those people offline when we've had a chance to talk to council, given it definitely needs their involvement. Any other questions?
One final question from Samuel B. Will there be any more distribution water main upgrades in Mount Beauty to Wonga to address what has been, over the years, a significant amount of inconvenience for locals due to unplanned events caused by old asbestos water mains, as well as what I'm sure is added pressure on your operations teams?
Dean.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Samuel. There's a number of renewals currently underway in Mount Beauty and Toowoomba. We have had some challenges with ageing infrastructure. A lot of this infrastructure was built to a much lower standard than what we build our infrastructure today. So we have an extensive program across the region, but we do have a real focus on Mount Beauty, particularly at the moment, given the number of failures that we're seeing. And that will also reduce the losses in the network. So the Mount Beauty network has significantly higher losses than other parts of the region, other systems that we maintain. So not only will it increase the level of service or improve the level of service, but it will also start to reduce those losses, which means that we don't need to extract and treat as much water as we currently do. Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Dean. I think there probably might be a couple of questions we haven't got to, because we've received quite a few questions that came in towards the end there, but we'll make sure that we do get back to all of you. So we've run out of time, so I'd like to draw a close to our session today. But to thank our presenters, Tim, Jill and Dean, and assistance from Eddie. A reminder that all our webinars and information you can find on our website at the Have Your Say page, including additional questions and requests for information. You will get a link to this webinar and also a request for your feedback in an email. But there is a Q&A code on screen, which takes you to a short survey. If you've got the time to do that now, we'd really love your feedback. So please click on the QR code and give us your feedback. But thank you. Hope you got something out of today's session, and have a great afternoon. And we look forward to seeing you at future engagement sessions. Thank you.